I wait for, you know, the truth of the matter is Andrew used to call this, or it really is like a little mini multivitamin. And once more, the Andrew Lessman difference. Nobody is doing CoQ10 in this way. You've got a couple of different choices at this monthly special pricing. You can choose just straight up Coenzyme Q10 if you would like, but then for no additional cost, you can choose it with the addition of vitamin D, basically it is for free, either in a 1,000 IU or a 2,000 IU. So again, straight up CoQ if you'd like, but most of us are choosing it with the addition of vitamin D because you're not paying for it, either in the 1,000 or the 2,000 IU. So Andrew, this is another one. You read those reviews, they read like love letters. We're talking about, among other things, energy at a foundational or a cornerstone platform, if you will, and once more pricing that is remarkable.
Well, our CoQ10, and any CoQ10 for that matter, it really is and should be afforded some special consideration as being technically a vitamin. It's not considered a vitamin because a vitamin is something our body can't make, our body can't synthesize. Our body can make a little bit of CoQ10, so then technically it's not a vitamin. But when you look at the function of CoQ10 in your body, no vitamin behaves more like a vitamin than coenzyme Q10. And when you look at what coenzyme Q10 does in our body, when you look at what any vitamin does in our body, they function as what's called a coenzyme. So when you actually say the very name of coenzyme Q10 defines it as going to work like a vitamin. But coenzyme Q10, as we age, and I mean as we move through our 20s, the levels of CoQ10 in our body gradually decline. And those declining levels of CoQ10 have implications. Why? Because CoQ10 is absolutely essential to the synthesis of energy in every single cell in our body. And there's something that's a little counterintuitive when we think about our body. We always think about our body as being sort of brilliantly designed. But there's some aspects of our body that when we think about how it works, it might be surprising to us. When you think about the 100 trillion plus cells in our body, well, think about 1 million cells. 1 million is a big number. 100 million, an even bigger number. 100 billion is even bigger. That's 1,000 times bigger than 100 million. 100 trillion, that's 1 million times bigger than 100 million. These are crazy large numbers. So in those 100 trillion cells of our body, every single one of those cells is independently responsible for its own energy production. So they don't get to share energy. So if one cell is really doing a good job producing energy, but its neighbor is not, that's unfortunate for its neighbor, but the other cell can't help it. So every single cell has an independent requirement for the essentials of energy production. So when we look at CoQ10, CoQ10 is that limiting factor in terms of a tool for energy production. We're not short of fuel. We have plenty of blood sugar. We have plenty of glycogen, which is more complex carbohydrate in our liver and our muscles. We have plenty of body fat. We have weeks and months potentially of fuel stored in our body. So we're not short of fuel. What we do often lack are the critical essential tools of energy production. And if you look at the levels of CoQ10 we have when we're younger, and as we advance through years, if we take certain medications, if we're under stress, depending on how we eat, the levels of CoQ10 only continue to decrease over time and with age. And that's why CoQ10 can make such a profound difference in the energy that we experience on a daily basis and how our key organs can function, because they require CoQ10 to function, adequate levels of CoQ10 to function at their very best.
Absolutely. And if you were going to do it, I hope, if you're going to do anybody's CoQ10, I hope it's this one. And certainly we've all lived through this pandemic, but lack of energy is like an epidemic.
Living through it.
I mean, right, and still living through it. But I mean, truly, when it gets down to most of the complaints that people have, I just don't have enough zip. I don't just, you know, that's like a prevalent epidemic for on a daily basis for people. They're like, I just don't have the energy. They should try this, right?
No, the kind of said this the other day. The world is kind of an assault on our sensibilities, that I now make an effort to not even look at the news. And Daniel, my friend Daniel Lehman, who's the world's leading brain expert, he considers the news probably the most toxic thing that we are surrounded by. So we have to do our very best kind of poison our sensibilities, poison our brain with these things, and really monitor the things that we are exposed to. But when we think about what we're dealing with, it's a challenge to our systems that produce our energy. It's a challenge to all our most important organs in our body. So CoQ10, when I think about energy, certainly it's not the most exciting and provocative and kind of like sexy product out there. There are all those 3-hour energy or 5-hour energy, whatever they call themselves, that gives you that immediate kick of energy. But the way I prefer to think of energy, back to where I started here, we have 100 trillion cells in our body. Rather than just stimulate my nervous system into making me feel and think I have more energy when I really do not, what I'd rather do is look at how the systems function in each and every one of those 100 trillion cells in my body. And even if I just can make a tiny little incremental change in those cells, that's what I consider both an ethical and a very serious product and serious opportunity to make a difference in the energy that we experience. Not some kind of flash that you get when you get a stimulation to your nervous system, but when you actually make a difference in the tools, in the systems that produce energy on a cellular level in all the cells in our body.
Absolutely. By the way, I know we've been kind of mentioning it throughout the show, but Andrew is the manufacturer, and these are all created with the energy of the sun. That is not any, additive or colorant, or, I mean, that's like nature's little gift, right?
Yeah, and even when you see if you just push it down with your finger, all those little spots go away. But because CoQ10, it's hard to encapsulate because it's kind of a lipid-based molecule. It's a fat-soluble protective compound. So when you're looking at that bright yellow-orange color, that's Mother Nature at her very best. When you see artificially colored supplements that are that color, I just scratch my head and think, why did they just use CoQ10? Why don't they use lutein? Why don't they use zeaxanthin? The reason why? Because artificial colors are cheap and they're easy to use. But when you're looking at Coenzyme Q10, that is ubiquinone. That is ubiquinone's beautiful color. That is Mother Nature at her very best. And that's your assurance that you're getting the pure ingredient that you seek. And in my products, there are no additives. There are no binders or fillers. They're not in tablets. So once you open that capsule, say, as Shannon just did, all you're seeing in there are the nutrients that you seek. It's not a gummy that's going to give you 25, 30 calories of sugar and all sorts of other additives. And again, the only reason I think these companies now make almost all their products as gummies is because their typical dosage form is so unpleasant to start with. It's either a huge rock-hard tablet that upsets your stomach, or a big soft gel that's hard to swallow and upsets your stomach and has a fishy aftertaste, or whatever it might be. My products, they're pleasant, they're easy to begin with. We didn't have to make a bad gummy to replace it. So again, pure, easy to swallow, gives you the pure benefits of CoQ10. Most companies have been making CoQ10 for 10, 15, 20 years. I've been making CoQ10 for almost 40 years. My original CoQ10 product goes back to 1984. So I know I date myself and I age myself. It's almost hard to believe that I've been doing this that long, but it gives you a sense, hopefully, of confidence that we know what we're doing in terms of manufacturing products, and we certainly know how to deliver the most effective, the best CoQ10 product because we've been doing it for 38 years.
Well, you have to try it for sure, especially at these monthly special savings. And remember, as always, 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. All right, we are scooting along. Andrew is going to stay with me for a few minutes beyond that 10 o'clock hour. We will have a